prime concern of democracy. But if there is no fraternity, liberty can swallow the equality. Liberty can not be sort of sustained if there is no foundation of fraternity, because there is no bond of sympathy. And you see, it was said or Ashish said, they are equal in some sense. They are sharing their equal, deeply rooted on the caste-based society. I was just thinking how the intellectual world or intelligentsia can be completed by ignoring the 40 to 45% intelligent people in this nation. How sociology in our daily lives, in our institutional life, and what life we live in this nation. So, kind of constitutional morality or lack of constitutional morality and the modes and the operation of unconstitutional living and the living worthily. That's what Dr. Ambedkar's aspiration for every citizenship of this nation. And let us not freeze him in the history and the constitution, and let us not make him the victim of reductionism by mere calling a leader of the least or scheduled caste or scheduled tribe. I think he was aspiring democracy in real sense, not only in the forms but in the facts. Thank you very much.
Everything, I was witnessing that, and it was shocking for me from the how things work, because they might not have that kind of protective environment which I had. So being from second generation literate, we are being told that okay, this is fine, your friend does not come to your home, it's okay. Or you are not called to your friend's birthday, it's okay. But gradually you will move up, you will go to bigger cities, these things will not be there. These things will not affect you. And this is how we are raised. We are raised almost in the denial. Now I can see that. Earlier I could never understand that. But now I can see that how in second generation literate families, we are taught to live in denial about caste from our own families. And when we enter into these academic institutions, we are not prepared at all. We are not at all prepared about how you are going to face. Because you believe that in 10 plus 2 you also scored 80% marks. You might be from a quota, but okay, fine. There is hardly 2-3% difference. I was doing an engineering and the branch which I chose, the topper of the branch was hardly 2-3% higher than me, which is I don't think can be marker of intelligence that he is 2-3% more intelligent than me. Of course, even when you're a kid, you know that these numbers is okay, fine. For time being it affects you, but you know that you can always overcome. But what you are not prepared is that when you go from the first day itself, you are marked as a quota student. And not only quota student, you are weak student. That the teacher from the first day itself and your classmates and everyone to start treating you as if you don't deserve to be here. You are not here, you are just here because of quota. And since we are not able to prevent you from coming, we will make your life as much hell as possible. This is about kindness. I don't know, maybe things might have changed, but this is what it is. And we are not prepared. What I feel is that if somebody makes a classist comment, and if I am able to retaliate immediately with a counter comment, those classist comment will not affect me that much. Right? Okay, fine. You will beat me physically, I will beat you next day. But what happens? The problem is that we are not able to counter those, the daily comments, the bark, the questions which come. Okay, fine. I have written about it, that the first day itself the teacher will make you stand up and give your intro, and then they will ask you to tell your rank. So you have to tell your rank, and then rank, not only rank, you have to tell your pedigree. I don't know why they want to ask, but they do ask. Then in Vivas, if you are not able to answer, immediately they will ask you, are you from Kota? So this one single comment, it's so humiliating when you are in the class and somebody, professor, and the way we are brought up is that we look at teachers as some kind of God. So our upbringing is like that, Go to class. This is the professor. That is my classmate because my classmate is very. So we are being raised like that, and it really affects us morally. That small comment. And I have seen my students, my friends suffering because of that. And these are the students who were toppers from their school. And suddenly within first semester their performance drops like anything. And there are backlogs, and those backlogs keep carrying over. And after the year you have 6-7 backlogs and you are gone. And there is no support system. The teachers are not willing to help you because they believe that you don't deserve to be here and anyway you have come. And so it is not their responsibility to support. Then we have other practical problems, like most of us come from regional languages background. We come from, I was the only one in my batch. We were around 200 students and there were some 30 total ST students. And probably I was the only one who came from English medium school. Rest 29, third class, third child students were from villages, were from small towns, and from regional languages. come. And I saw that suffering, and and there was no support system whatsoever to the students. And then there was a lot of comments and lot of things were there. And so from then onwards, that it's a long story, and I will not tell you the whole story, but the result was that I could not complete my degree, and I was thrown out because I protested and I beat up the dean because of past humiliation. But I could not complete it. So that was that is the background from where I come. And then I decided that I have to work on it, because that was such an experience for me that and the worst part is that you cannot explain these things to your own parents. My parents blamed me for this. That there are hundreds of students who graduate every year. Why only you? Why only you cannot? There are hundreds of students who graduate. And believe me, I was not able to explain them at all. Because they were also in the denial mode. Because they don't want to listen to that there is a caste discrimination. But they know it. After some time, after years, when my father was very sick, and he was a cancer patient, and we had a talk, he told me. Because that was something which was very shocking for me, because my own parents are not willing to believe that there is something called caste. And what my parents used to say was that whatever used to happen, you should have adjusted with it, and you should not have left the poor students. I was there for 3-4 days first week this month, and I did a small bit of research, and all these students are either first generation literate or second generation literate. I am from very humble background. All 17 students are from very humble background, and all 17 are from non-English background, and all 17 are from rural areas, from Bihar, from Tamil Nadu, from Andhra, and from UP. And here they come after 10 plus 2, and and all of them are above 60%. First is and suddenly you tell them that you are not fit to learn a foreign language. A language. Forget about foreign. Every language is a foreign language. So, and you are constantly told that you are not fit to learn a language. And after spending 3 years or 4 years in Maya's case, she has spent 5 years. This is 5th year, and she is going without a degree. Without a graduate degree. And she has done just one course. One paper she could not clear. And when you raise your voice, then my friend, I'm sitting here, they get a legal notice of defamation. And the first paragraph says that Madam so-and-so belongs to such a illustrious family. Father was ex-governor and ex-chief justice, and mother was a reputed doctor. So again, such I laugh at it because it doesn't even shock me now. Because almost like 10 years, I've seen dead bodies of students. I've seen so much that it doesn't shock me. It just makes me laugh a bit. And so, friends, we have been trying to, fight this case. And I was in Marathwada, and I got an SMS from someone that I have to speak. And I'm sure all of us have, enriched ourselves on, especially Ambedkar's philosophy and idea on social justice, liberty, and fraternity. I would also like to, at this juncture, to begin with, acknowledge and mention the intervention which Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had made in the context of Northeast India, policy of the Northeast India. To give that a background needs to be highlighted a little bit. In the year 1947, the Constituent Assembly set up an advisory committee to make recommendations for the development of the tribal areas in Northeast India. And a subcommittee headed by Gopinath Bordoloi, who later became the Chief Minister of Assam, was set up with 4 tribal leaders from the region. One is Rudnath Brahma, he's a Bodo. The other is Reverend J.J.M. Nichols Roy, who's a Khasi, and Aliba Imti from Nagaland, who was later replaced by Mayam Novcha. And of course, the last person is Sri A.B. Thakur, who's a Gandhian social worker close to Gandhi. Now, these leaders found that the tribals of Northeast were not fully assimilated into the larger society, and they were protective of their land, resources, and culture. Therefore, these leaders recommended formation of autonomous regional and district councils that would provide adequate safeguards to the tribes in preserving their land, their customs, their language, and of course, their culture. Now, all these members who are a part of this subcommittee could not come to a consensus at all. There was divisions in their opinion, obviously because they represented different ethnic communities and different tribes. In such a juncture, persuasion by the communist leader Jaipal Singh and of course Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had helped to resolve the differences of opinions among these leaders from the Northeast. In fact, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar argued that while tribals elsewhere in India had become Hindus and assimilated with the mainstream culture, in Northeast region they had remained outside the Hindu influence. And this is again reiterated and supported by sociologist Andrea Bate. Under Ambedkar's influence, it was decided that the district and regional councils would be provided with sufficient autonomy and their administration would be vested in the governor rather than in the state legislative assembly. And the 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution was made vested with the provision for the creation of the autonomous regional and district council. Well, we all do understand how Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had also significantly contributed in implementing, of course, in formulating and implementing the reservation policy which all the SC/STs are enjoying today. Now, I want to draw your attention by saying here that the racial differences between the Northeast and the mainstream Indian society, and of course, the tedious geographical link contributed to a certain sense of alienation, exclusion, and the feeling of otherness, both by the groups, that actually facilitated to a culture of violence, political culture of violence. If you look at the Northeast, you see that the region is swept by movements, different types of ethnic movements, including the political movements. The movements for greater autonomy by different groups of the Northeast lay historically in the British policy of exclusion of this region from the usual administrative measures effective in the areas of the plains. Therefore, these hills of the Northeast ended up being classified as excluded or partially excluded areas and remained outside the process of development. I want to also emphasize here the question of gender and migration and the challenges that is involved. Violence against women and girls continues unabated in Northeast in various forms like rape, murder, psychological and physical abuse. It is attributed largely to the existence of Armed Forces Special Powers Act of 1958. In fact, many cases of violence which I have personally heard as a young girl growing up, and then later on, as I live in the city, I keep hearing the stories from our own family members and friends. But unfortunately, the stories of violence, untold stories of violence were never told in the national media or even in the national print media. Until the recent few years. Suddenly, 10 years back, I'm sorry if there are any media man here, the media, started focusing only in the past few years. I also would like to mention here that the Armed Special Forces Act have, attributed to the kinds of intensity of violence that exist in the Northeast. And again, in addition, we find new forms of violence which has emerged now in the past
trafficking, prostitution, dowry harassment, and begging in the like. Now, we'll not, if some of you have gone to the Northeast, you would hardly see beggars on the street. But today you see begging, especially in a city like Guwahati, and of course few in Dimapur, which is the business hub of Nagaland. So violence takes a devastating toll on women's lives, on their families, and on society as a whole. Now, with regard to the status of Northeast women in India's metropolitan cities, many of the sisters from Northeast have been facing discrimination and exclusion in where they live. The capital city of New Delhi has rendered the worst form of violence and prejudice towards the Northeast women and the people in general. Sociologically speaking, the Mongoloid racial discrimination and easy target of sexual violence faced by the Northeast women, and also in general the communities, is the reflection of nothing but caste system. It matters how I look. It matters how you look. What community you belong to, how you speak, how you dress. You know, these are issues which matter because of the caste system. The patriarchal and caste-based Indian society considers the tribal boys and girls of the Northeast as polluted socially. And I'm sure Professor Aloysius would agree with me, because most of these tribes from the Northeast, the boys and girls who are now in various parts, metropolitan cities of India, are perceived as polluted socially, culturally, and most importantly, religiously. They never consider the Northeasterners as equal fellow citizens and part of larger society because of their appearance, because of the dress women wear, and of course, because of cultural differences, food habits. Now, such mindset and attitude are the root cause of all discrimination and inequality and social injustice that we see in our everyday life within the country. And I want to draw your attention by saying here that such mindset violates the theory of unity in diversity, where social justice and equality remains a dream. Now, this kind of injustice and inequality meted out to the people of one part of India facilitated the exodus of Northeast communities from various metropolitan cities just hardly 1 year back. 2012, we see the exodus of this ethnic communities, you know, from Bangalore. Thousands and thousands of people come forward, and the trains were there, special trains were there. My question when I saw the trains, you know, in Chennai station and in Bangalore station in television, the question that comes to my mind is, how did suddenly they get the special trains to Northeast? There is obviously a higher up hand which is involved to provide train. Otherwise, how can they be just, you know, loaded like cows and buffaloes in a train and then push back to the Northeast? It's so obvious that there is a higher hand involved in it. So that's what I'm saying, such inequality, such injustices were meted out to the people. And how do you expect the people of Northeast to, you know, inculcate that feeling of oneness with the other mainstream Indians? Many times I was asked, I'm a student of Delhi University, Maratha House, I'm a student of JNU, and I lived here for more than a decade. Everywhere I go, people would ask me many times, are you from Japan? Are you from Korea? In fact, a year ago in the University of Hyderabad, we have a State Bank of India. One man greeted me. I thought he must be one of this non-teaching staff who knows me from before. So when he said namaste, I said namaste. He comes to me and says, are you from Malaysia? I said, sorry, I'm an Indian. You know, so these are the issues which many of the Northeastern, you know, sisters and brothers, or, you know, boys and girls would identify with what I'm saying. You identify the people as Nepali, you identify the people as Bhutanese, you identify the people as, you know, Koreans, Malaysians, Singaporeans, whatnot. Then where is the question of unity in diversity? Where is the question of oneness? Where is the question of integration of the Northeasterners with the mainstream society? There is no way out when people refuse to acknowledge their own citizens within the country. You see, every citizen has a right to migrate. Every citizen has everywhere within the Union territory. The rights to life, rights to live, right to be included in the mainstream society are obviously denied to the Northeast communities in many, many metropolitan cities in many forms, in a very subtle way. Many do not get justice. Many Northeast people do not get justice from the law enforcing agencies. On the other hand, the right to sovereignty and self-determination were denied to certain groups of communities like the Nagas who have been fighting for almost a century. Now, it is alarming to know that migration from Northeast India is rising everywhere in spite of the fact that they are meted out with injustice and inequality in their everyday life. You see, a lot of Northeast people have been migrating to the metropolitan cities. There is a push and pull factor wherein we can use the theory of push and pull if we have to look at academically on migration of Northeasterners to India's metropolitan cities. We have an NGO called Northeast Helpline in New Delhi, which is led by Madhu Chandran and the team, which involves academicians, which involves advocates and other social activists. They have clearly mentioned in their research findings that the number of migration of the Northeasterners has increased 12 times in the last 5 years. And the migration to other cities of India is a new trend that began only in the early 2000s, 2001, 2002, 2003. These are the years where migration of Northeast people to urban metropolitan cities have gradually, increased. Before that, little in number migrates for specific higher and professional studies, and of course some of them migrate because they are in government jobs, bureaucratic jobs. Now, migration from Northeast India is at its peak in the last 2 years, 2001 and 2012. It's very interesting to note that in the year 2011, over 2,75,000 students from this region migrate to various metropolitan cities of India. Now, I want to draw your attention. Their study cost, the study cost of every single Northeast boys and girls is 1/5 of Union government rupees 8,000 crores budget for 2011 and 12, supported by none other than their poor, tribal parents at home in the Northeast, if calculated at the rate of rupees 5,000 per student annually. The year 2005 had actually, 34,000 migrants, and it increases to 4,14,850 in 2010. With the current situation, with the current tradition or trend, 5 lakh people are expected from the Northeast to migrate to India's metropolitan cities between 2011 and 2015. Now the challenges, what is the challenge here? The challenges of racial discrimination arises. The challenges of sexual violence faced by the communities in New Delhi arises. Now Union Cabinet Ministers clearing 51% foreign direct investment in multi-brand stores and 100% in single brand will open a way for 4 to 6 million jobs in India. And this definitely is going to attract the Northeasterners because there's not much of a multinational company investing in the Northeast states. There's not much of an industry there.
एक जो गाँव था हरा भरा and no distinction based upon religion, caste, color, creed and sex. And public and private, that state provides equal opportunity to all people. दोस्तों इसमें जो बात कही गई है कि कास्ट ओरिजिन की बुनियाद पर हिंदुस्तान में किसी को कोई स्पेशल दर्जा हासिल नहीं है, तो अब हमको ये देखना चाहिए कि जो कानून लागू किया गया है, जो कानून हमारे सामने पेश की गई है, क्या उस कानून के तहत आज हमको वो हक और राइट मिल रहा है कि नहीं। दोस्तों मैं बयान करना ये चाहता हूँ कि वो हक कभी भी मिल नहीं रहा है। आज कास्ट की बुनियाद पर सिर्फ एकेडमिक फील्ड हो, चाहे एम्प्लॉयमेंट फील्ड हो, चाहे किसी भी फील्ड हो, आज ये तकसीम कर दिया जाता है कि ये एससी है, ये एसटी है, ये ओबीसी, इस तरह करके डिवाइड कर दिया जाता है। आज किसी भी यूनिवर्सिटी में, किसी भी कॉलेज में, किसी भी स्कूल में ये हक नहीं दिया जाता है कि किसी भी एसटी, एससी या ओबीसी और जो दलित लोग हैं उनको अच्छे पोस्ट पे दिया जाए और उनको अच्छी तालीम हासिल करने का मौका नहीं दिया जाता है। जब कानून ये कहता है हिंदुस्तान के हर सिटीजन, हिंदुस्तान के हर बाशिंदे को हर फील्ड में इक्वल राइट है, हर फील्ड में बराबर हक है, चाहे कोई एजुकेशन फील्ड में हो, चाहे कोई जॉब्स के फील्ड में हो, चाहे कोई सोसाइटी में हो, सबको बराबर हक है। लेकिन दोस्तों अफसोस के साथ ये कहना पड़ता है कि आज सिर्फ हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर देखिए कास्ट अपर कास्ट और नीचे कास्ट के लोगों के साथ कैसे सलूक और बर्ताव किया जा रहा है। और आज ये कहा जा रहा है कि कोई एससी एसटी से बिलोंग रखता है तो उनको कहा जाता है कि तुम्हारा हक ये है, तुम्हारी ड्यूटी ये है कि तुम जाओ और खेत में काम करो, तुम जाओ और जाकर झाड़ू लगाओ, तुम जाओ और जाकर टॉयलेट साफ करो, ये कहा जाता है। लेकिन दोस्तों हिंदुस्तान के कानून, हिंदुस्तान के दस्तूर ये नहीं बताता है, बल्कि हिंदुस्तान के हर सिटीजन को, हिंदुस्तान के हर फर्द को पूरा हक है कि वो अच्छे से अच्छे तालीम हासिल करें, अच्छे से अच्छे एजुकेशन हासिल करें और अच्छे से अच्छे जॉब करें। ये चीज आज हिंदुस्तान के अंदर सिर्फ कानून को बना दिया गया है, लेकिन कानून को कभी फॉलो नहीं किया जाता है। और एक पॉइंट मैं आपके सामने बयान करके अपनी बात खत्म करूंगा। हिंदुस्तान की दस्तूर में और हिंदुस्तान की जो राइट और कानून बनाई गई है कि फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच एंड एक्सप्रेशन, हिंदुस्तान के हर आदमी को, हिंदुस्तान के हर सिटीजन को ये फ्रीडम है कि वो अपनी बात को जहां भी चाहे अपनी बात को रख सकता है, अपनी स्पीच दे सकता है और अपने व्यू और अपनी बात को आगे बढ़ा सकता है। लेकिन अफसोस ये कहना पड़ता है कि आज स्पीच की कोई फ्रीडम नहीं है, न स्पीच की फ्रीडम है, न एक्सप्रेशन की फ्रीडम है और ना ही हमको किसी भी लिटरेचर पॉम्फलेट लिखने की फ्रीडम है। दोस्तों क्या सिर्फ ये कानून जिसको डॉक्टर भीमराव अम्बेडकर ने 65 साल पहले लिख दिया है, तो क्या ये कानून सिर्फ एक गुलदस्ता के तौर पर रखा जाए या उसको फिर अमल में लाया जाए। दोस्तों आज हिंदुस्तान में हम देखते हैं कि जब भी हम कोई बात पेश करने जाते हैं, अगर कोई निचले तबके के हैं, कोई एससी एसटी और ओबीसी माइनॉरिटी के दलित से बिलोंग रखते हैं, अगर वो कोई स्पीच अपनी बात पेश करने जाता है तो उन पर लगाम लगा दिया जाता है और उसके अगेंस्ट में अलग केसेस दर्ज किया जाता है और आखिर उनको जेल में भेज दिया जाता है।
That you all will become tired and they can wind up, but there doesn't seem to be any kind of sign of you people being tired. But either you are tired or not, I think it is better to wind up faster. When Mohan asked me, sir, when you celebrating Ambedkar Jayanti, we come and speak, my immediate response was, no, I'm not. The idea was celebrating birthday is basically traveling. This we have to remember. Not that next year Mohan or another will not celebrate. We will go on. Because it's only rethinking, not reacting or re-behaving and all that. It's only re-speaking. Within the Brahmanic culture, I am sure my friend Santosh will say, it's not the birth, but it's the work. It is not the activity, but it is achievement that matters. But somehow we will follow the same thing all over again. It is and all that kind of thing. But many of the people belonging to what Baba Sahib belonged, many of us sitting here, some accident, some sheer accident. Somehow we go grow up, and finally we are known and we are remembered by what eventually we managed to do a little bit in our lives. It is that matters. Achievement is what matters. And in Baba Sahib's life there have been plenty of achievements. Let us celebrate the Mahat Tank entry. Let us celebrate the Round Table Conference where like a was standing and then declaring, warning to the nation. And there are a number of occasions to celebrate Baba Sahib. The Brahmanical ideology, it does not matter at all whom you celebrate. But some celebration has to be there. That's all it matters. It does not matter at all whom you worship. But worshipping has to be done. Something or other. See, that's the crux. They don't problem about putting, in a chindur either vertical or horizontal and then replace it. Eventually you will also become. A friend of mine who went yesterday or somewhere to celebrate Jayanti noted that there are so many garlands were put on Ambedkar statue. He was afraid that the statue would break. There were two incidents in Baba Sahib's life. Baba Sahib was very irascible. Couldn't tolerate it. So he was traveling towards Polar Gold Fields to see the Buddhism developing. But on the way, crowds and crowds of people, Baba Sahib has come. And then Mappos, mala after mala, garlands were. And the man was suffering from all kinds of sicknesses. And this moisture was too much for him. The moisture from the flowers and all that. So he was sort of suffocating, and then he with his stick, it stuck at the driver's thing, go back. So they eventually went back. He didn't make it to the Polar Gold Fields. And then some delegates came and then talked to him what is the whole idea was. The same thing in Vasant Moon repeats in his Basti, the village, his own village, where Baba Sahib Ambedkar could not reach the village because of adulation, and all kinds of, ritualistic worship. It will be very necessary to find innovative ways of remembering Baba Sahib Ambedkar. However important it is and very encouraging it is, all of us getting together to celebrate his memory. And we should do it more often. Now, that's first thing. But today, the 5 people presented, fantastic variety. Very few have a direct reference to Baba Sahib Ambedkar. It was basically discrimination, basically injustices and so on. And a very sensitive and a very kind of touching stories from Soha stories place and right down to conflict now India. You see, earlier Baba Sahib's idea, Ambedkar's ideology, was very much determined by the nationalist people. Some Mahar leader, Dalit leader maximum, and so on, contrasting it with Gandhi and so on. Later on, Dalit movement claimed a right to interpret Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Dalit point of view is Baba Sahib's point of view. Baba Sahib's point of view is a Dalit point of view. But as the movement proceeded, we found there is a divergence. No divergence. The Dalits, with their continuous experience of having given up, abdicated power by under some pretext or other, found any ideology to some extent, including Baba Sahib's ideology, as an unnecessary burden. We assert power at all costs and every cost, and so on. Later on, it came Baba Sahib's Ambedkar studies came in, and then we got stuck with the texts. Did Baba Sahib say this? Did Baba Sahib did not say this? How to interpret this? Educate, whether educate is first or next, and things like that. became a very important, when the text 23 volumes became very important. But increasingly we find as the days and the times change, Baba Sahib is playing a very, very important, increased and a comprehensive role in all our lives. And this is what today we also do. In fact, last month when I went for a meeting in somewhere in Tamil Nadu, what's the Ambedkar's view of the state? It was very interesting. He is a party leader, obviously of the supposedly Dalit party, Dalit Party. He was giving an explanation. Which is the last man's point of view in a society is Ambedkar's point of view. He didn't say that Dalit's point of view was an Ambedkar point of view. Very last man, what will he say? His point. The kind of opened out to a board thing that Ambedkar emerges as a kind of conscience, and forget about the text, forget about the nationalist interpretation, forget even about the Dalit interpretation of Ambedkar. He emerges into a kind of universal conscience evoking an icon. And this is the need of the times. We have lost all ideologies. Communism is a discount, nationalism is a seriously at the discount, and there is nothing much going on in the market by which people could be united and so on. And there we find that Ambedkar represents a moral one, a standard. We all should have a standard in life. Every man ought to have an ideal in life. We have lost it in our public life. Most of our public life is a fixing one. Fixing, matching, manipulating, seeing interests get dovetailed properly, at least temporarily. Never allow a permanent solutions based on principles or ideals. There Ambedkar represents. This is very, very important. Very important. Secondly, within our own academics, you see the slow but very sure erasure of normativity. We are so gripped with the present, the engagement as in a facticity, fragmented, without any relation to the past or the future, without any relation to an ideal to judge. We are engaged in the present. And the present engagement is a sort of, this can be known as a very high-powered words which we are using constantly. But at that moment, it is very, very necessary to honor this Ambedkar as a moral art that represents the normativity which a human being cannot afford to replicate. This is very important. And I will not say much about the various aspects of philosophy of Ambedkar because philosophy, unlike many of us are struggling very hard in our academic life, he wrote simply and in a straightforward manner. He has to only read it and he meant something serious, he said it. He didn't have to sort of have one night here, one night there and also kind of, and in a convoluted way, you say something but then take it away by the next sentence. That he never knew that. He was committed for an ideal and he said it. And people understood him. So it is only for you to take it and read what he has said. It's a pleasant reading, pleasant and easy reading, a kind of diversion from what you are accustomed to read and write and so on. But in coming to a little bit, something what earlier friends were saying, it's important to remember. I really appreciate Jay coming over here. I have been here for the last 2 years.